Alright, so here is a video for 2.1. We're looking at patterns of graphs and linear functions, okay? So this is going to cover your 2.1 worksheet, 2.1, your worksheet 2.1, okay? So let's take a look at what we have done here so far. We talked about how graphs has a pattern, and we're looking for these patterns. So let's take a look at your worksheet number 1 here. It says, what are the variables in each graph, and describe how the variables are related at various points on the graph. So you're pretty much looking at a graph and trying to understand what it's telling us. So I see time over here, and as time is horizontally passing over here, so I could think of, it says hours. So in 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. So we see time over here. It says time and H for hour. And it says temperature over here, okay? And I think it's saying Celsius, all right? So the temperature and the time. How are these two related according to the graph we see here? It looks like the higher amount of hours, the more hours we have, the higher the temperature is, right? It looks like if I am at 0 hour, I have 0 temperature. Maybe some time in the middle of the night, or there's very low temperature. At first hour, I don't know what first hour could mean, but it could mean that the lowest hour, the earliest the hour, the lowest the temperature. As the hours are increasing, maybe later in the day, then the higher the temperature gets. So that is just a connection that we're making between time and temperature. So you can explain here, as hours increase, we're going to be using a lot of this vocabulary, increase, decrease. So it looks like as the hours increase here, 1, 2, 3, and so on, as the hour increases, the temperature is also increasing, right? So the temperature also increases. So it looks like as the hours are increasing, the temperature is also increasing because our arrow is pointing up. So let's take a look at the next one. It's saying altitude. So if you're at lower altitude here, let's count this 0. And then let's count this higher altitude. I don't know, maybe let's put 30. And then it says the oxygen level. So it looks like high oxygen level if you go up, high values right here, and then low values over here. So that's what it's saying, something about altitude and oxygen. I know if I go really high to Shaver Lake or even higher, I have a hard time breathing because the oxygen is lower. So that's exactly what it's saying here. As the altitude increases, the oxygen gets lower. If you are at lower altitude, like here in Fresno and Clovis, you have more oxygen. So you can write a sentence. I'll let you write a sentence about this conversation. As the altitude increases, it looks like the oxygen is coming down, is decreasing. So keep in mind the words increase and the words decrease. Here, these are the words that you want to be using as you are describing this. Mathematically, it makes sense, and it must match the graph here. Notice that here things were increasing, and here things are decreasing. Okay. So let's take a look at some more problems here. It says match each graph with its related table. So graphs and tables, they need to match each other. If you go back up here, time and temperature. If I was at 1 hour, I would have a certain temperature for it, right? So this is hour and this is temperature. So as a 1 hour, I would maybe have a certain temperature. Let's say at 5 a.m. Okay, let's say at 5, let's put 5 a.m. 5 a.m. maybe we have 60 degrees. And then at 7 a.m., maybe we have 68 degrees. So there is always a relationship between your horizontal axis and your vertical axis. So, and this can be transferred into a table, but this table and this graph will match each other. You should be able to match back and forth. And that is exactly what they're asking us to do here on the next problems. question number 3, 4, and 5, I'm supposed to find the table that matches this graph. I like to look at the table and then go look at the graph, but it really doesn't matter. I'm going to try to find what graph matches with table A. It looks like if I have 1 hour, I have 10 miles. So 1 hour, this is time, time, and time. They all have something about time. And they all have something about distance, distance, and distance. So it looks like 1 hour I should be matching with 10. Graph 3 matches. 1 hour with 10. Graph 4 also works, but graph 5 does not work because 1 is matching with a 30. So it is definitely not 5 for A. It's either 3 or 4. So let's keep going. A 2 should be matching with the 20. At 2 hours, I should have 20 miles. It works with graph 3 here. At 2 hours, this one matches with 30. So that is definitely not this graph for A. So A matches with 3. Okay, A matches with 3. All right, so I'm done with 3 and A. Now let's see. 1 matches with 30. It is definitely not 4 because 1 hour matches with 10 miles over here. So he leaves us with 1 matches with 30. So B goes with 5. And then obviously it leaves us with C matches with 4. So we have A3, B5, and C4. Okay? So you're looking at a table and matching their values on the graph. So I'm pretty sure if you just pay attention carefully here, review this one more time, you'll be able to create graphs that are similar over here. I will do one for you, and then hopefully you can do the others. So let me just, I'll do number 8 here. So let's see the words they're using, because the words are very important, and that's how I'm going to create my graph. The average test scores of the class increased, so I want something that is going up throughout the semester until it decreased slightly on the last test. So we're talking about tests. Okay, we're talking about tests and their scores. So tests and scores. So I like to make a table here just so I can have an idea like the previous example. It looks like in a semester, let's pretend there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tests. Okay, it looks like the scores start getting higher. I don't know, maybe let's say first test the average was a 70%, and then a 75, and then an 80, and then an 85. I'm just making up numbers. You could have made up 60, 70, 80. But then on the very last test, it decreased a little bit. So let's not go as high as 85. Pick a number lower than 85. Let's pretend a 80 because it said slightly. So don't go drop too low because it said a slightly decrease. So I can create that and then come over here and create my graph for it. Okay? So I can put tests right here. I had 1 test, 2 tests, 3 tests, 4 tests, 5 tests. And then let's put the scores here. Scores right there. So you can create a table to pretend values here so you can understand the problem, or you can just view it without scores. Looks like we had high values for the first few tests, and then all of a sudden we decreased a little bit. If I connect all these dots, I would have this kind of graph right here, going higher, and then it decreased, okay? So you just kind of like analyze the situation and try to figure out how your graph is going to look like. It says the average temperature decrease over the course of the football season. So you choose what you want to do here, but you better match with the situation here. So it looks like we're talking about temperature. So the temperature, like the scores, decreased over the course of the football season. You want to, as far as I know, we can call it football season like in terms of weeks or months. So you can call it months. So the first month, second month, third month, fourth month, that should be enough. And it says that the average temperature steadily decreased from what was, so it was originally high, pick some value that was a high, try to think of football season, hot outside, maybe 90 degrees, and then is slowly decreasing. Try to create that graph to represent the situation, okay? So that's two hints over here so you can finish these last two problems, and some good idea of what to do here in the front. I already did this homework for you. I just want you to finish this other one, okay? So that's a pretty good practice for 2.1. In this unit, we are looking at graphs and we're analyzing these graphs, okay? So pay attention to the words increasing and decreasing. As you can see, it was used a lot here on the back portion, okay? During a trip, your speed increases during the first hour and then decreases. So those words are going to be used all the time during this unit because we're analyzing graphs. So let me know if you need help. Please attend Math Lab if you need to. Okay, so thank you. Good luck.